is beauty in the eye of the beholder, or is it an illusion we're all trying to create? This filtered world we're all trying to live in. What's your perception of beauty? How do you perceive beauty? What's beautiful to you? Is it something that you saw in a magazine or on social media or on the internet? Who taught you beauty? They taught me beauty. This photo changed the course of my life. I'm 13 years old in this photo, so young and so innocent. I'm at the Santa Monica Pier with my mom and my little brother on a Sunday afternoon. We're playing. This photographer comes up to my mom and I and says that I have the right look and he'd love to shoot me, and it's for this famous designer. That photographer happens to be one of the biggest photographers till this day in the world. My mom was a little complacent, and of course I convinced her to let me show up the next day, and my life literally went from growing up in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where there was dirt roads and donkeys running around all over, to becoming a supermodel overnight, just like that. I'm 14 years old in this photo. They taught me that if I got a worldwide campaign, I've reached elite status as a supermodel. I'm literally selling sex when I didn't even know what that was. They say sex sells. It always has, it always will. I'll tell you a little secret. I'm actually not wearing the designer's clothes in that photo. Hell, I'm barely wearing any clothes. I'm wearing underwear and gloves. Happy, sweet 16. They told me if I was an international model, that I've reached superstar status, and if I made them a lot of money, I was good. So I get a contract to go to Tokyo for a month, and I was making what would be equivalent to $1 million today, then. It's my sweet 16th birthday, and they decided to throw me a birthday party. I had happened to have worked that day 16 hours. I normally worked every day when I was in Tokyo 16 to 18 hours. I had to fulfill that contract. They decided to throw me this birthday party, and when I show up into this man's house, who's a businessman, playboy, billionaire's house, and there's all these middle-aged men there, and there's all these models, and they start giving us drinks and drugs, and all these models say they're my best friends. I can't remember any of their names. These agents tell me they love me, and I'm their favorite. They didn't love me. They loved the money I made them. All I wanted to do was celebrate my sweet 16 with my family and my friends in West Covina, California, where I grew up. But I was in Tokyo. Happy fucking sweet 16. I love the angle that this photographer took my photo in. I love the lighting. My father had died 2 days prior. They told me I needed to show up because I made a commitment and I had to fulfill it. If not, they would drop me. I just wanted to grieve my dad. He had died unexpectedly at 47. If you look at that photo, the little girl in me was more alive than the woman in me. They said I couldn't keep it. I had had an abortion 5 days prior. I wanted to carry the baby, but they told me that it would ruin my career. See, I wanted to be a mother. I've always wanted to be a mother. I wanted to bear my own children. But they said that I couldn't. If you look at the photo, I'm happy. I'm smiling. But my eyes are closed because I can't look in the lens. And I'm covering my womb. I hadn't eaten in 5 days. I got this huge job I'd known about for a month, and they wanted me to lose weight. They told me I needed to get skinny, super skinny. So they told me I needed to go to this special doctors of theirs. So I did. And he said I needed energy. So he was giving me B12 shots and B12 pills. I later found out he was giving me speed and Adderall. When I was in New York a week before that photo shoot, and I was in the fitting and I was looking in the mirror with the lingerie on, I literally looked in the mirror and I saw an elephant man looking back at me. My body dysmorphia. 3 days before the shoot, I had gotten to a point where I got a marker and I wrote, "I hate you," all over my arms and on my chest and stomach. And I grabbed a razor blade because I wanted to carve it out. Because I wanted you to see what I felt like my whole life. Thankfully, I had passed out. They told me that they would make me feel safe and comfortable. I had gotten nudes, this photograph, to do this news with this very renowned photographer. And back then, it was a really big deal to do that. I was so nervous that they told me, "Don't worry, you'll be safe, just show up." So I did, and when I got to the photo studio, it was all men. And I'm there and I'm really nervous, so they start giving me drinks and drugs, and one of those people that night decided to make me feel reassured and safe. He ended up abusing my body and sexually assaulting me. I wanted to end modeling before it ended me, but I knew that I loved being in front of the camera. I loved it so much, but as a model, my voice never mattered. I was just a hanger, I was replaceable. That's what they always told me. But as an actress, my voice mattered. So I started studying, and I got my first movie role in a movie called Blow with Johnny Depp, and then I did another movie with Tom Cruise, Vanilla Sky, then I did another movie, Charlie's Angels, with Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz, and then I did another movie with Christina Applegate, Jason Bateman, and the list goes on and on and on, and all of a sudden I become the it girl in Hollywood. I'm on every red carpet, I'm doing every award season, I'm back in all these magazines, and I couldn't stay sober to save my life. In fact, in one of these photos, actually the one in the middle, I was on a 5-day run. For those of you who don't know what a 5-day run is, it's when you do drugs and you don't sleep for 5 days. See, but I made everything shiny and pretty on the outside, but I was dying on the inside. That hole, that void just got bigger and bigger and bigger. I finally decided it was time for me to save my life. Actually, my mom and my best friend decided to do that for me, and I went into treatment. And I gotta tell you, recovery has not been always easy, but it's been worth it. I had to do a lot of things that weren't necessarily in the 12-step program, as well as doing the 12-step program. But one of the things I had to do was I couldn't look in the mirror, but only for 5 minutes in the morning. I could brush my teeth and comb my hair, and that was it. I couldn't wear any makeup. I had to feel demasked. I had to wiggle my toes, feel grounded. I couldn't look at tabloid magazines or any of my other isms that were going on, and I had to deal with my traumas, and I had to deal with my issues and overcome my obstacles and adversities, and we all got those. And I started saving my life, and I started following what they were telling me to do, and they told me, let's work inside instead of outside this time. Instead of how I used to always do it, I would work outside inwardly, and it never worked. And I was fighting for my life. I felt discrimination as being a Latin woman, but I've never felt it worse than when I was heavy, and by women of all people. I finally decided I wanted everything to connect, mind, body, and spirit. I started doing shows. One of the doctors who had helped save my life is a doctor by the name of Dr. Drew, and he had done a show called Celebrity Rehab. His spin-off show on VH1 was Sober House, and he asked me to run the house, and I did 2 seasons of that, 3 seasons of Celebrity Rehab, and I became an advocate. I've started doing CNN and all these shows, and Housewives of Beverly Hills. I did 4 seasons of that show, not a wife, just a friend on that show. And, I was back on TV, and I wanted it all to connect, so I started dieting, and I started working out morning, noon, and night, 3 times a day. I was weighing everything I was eating, and I just wanted to connect. I wanted to connect for me, and I did it organically, and it took some years, but I did it. And finally, I call this, for me, my comeback moment. I call it my rebirth. I call it my flight of the phoenix. I had risen from the ashes moment. I did not diet any differently. I did not work out any differently than I normally did. I just showed up. I showed up as a middle-aged woman with my power and my strength, comfortable in my skin. I showed up wearing the scars that I now call on my sleeves a badge of honor. I know that some of you may be looking at me and going like, who is she to be talking about all this? I'll tell you who I am. I'm someone who survived this. I'm someone who's bringing a voice to these stories. I am someone who's bringing a face to these stories. I am standing here for all those that haven't yet found their voices. I am standing here representing all those beautiful people that we know that have died because they tried to live in this filtered, fake world. I am a voice for the voiceless. Has anything changed since 30 years ago? No, it hasn't. It's actually gotten worse because now we're all the targets. And our children, our youth, they're the most targeted. Do you know what app of the hour your kids are on? Do you know who they're socializing with on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat? Do you know how many kids are getting bullied because they're trying to fit in and they can't be themselves? Do you know that today there's more children in the United States committing more suicide than ever before? My whole life I was chasing perfection. And what I've realized is I'm perfectly imperfect. You know, back in the day I used to have fake friends and yes and people. Today, there's fake friends on social media. There's those like buttons that we're all dying to have, right? We're all looking to see how many we got. You know, back in the day, there were people that would write about people in stories. Now there's internet trolls that sit there behind their cameras, their computers, just bashing people because they have nothing better to do. We don't communicate. We're not communicative today. You know, my whole life I felt I was unlovable. Today I have a core group of people that are my friends and my family, and they love me. And I love them. I realize I'm lovable. I am love. And I'm in love. In fact, today, I'm engaged. To the love of my life. I thank you, Tim Ryan, for existing and coming into my life. That's a real photo. This photo haunts me. Her mother captured her doing that and shot that photo. We are teaching her that. I have been that girl my whole entire life. And I know you have. And you. And you. I think it's time we redefine what beauty is. I have suffered in silence for so long, and I really do believe people don't need to suffer in silence anymore to try to fit this mold. If I could go back to my 13-year-old self and tell her anything, I would tell her, you're beautiful just as you are. I I really want to thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable and transparent with you and have this beautiful moment at this time. My name is Jennifer Gimenez. Thank you.